Hello there. Welcome to Unit 4, Innovation and Change in a Digital World. You're over halfway through now, aren't you? That's good. I hope you're enjoying the program. More importantly, I hope that you're learning a lot and that you're applying it and that you're improving your practice. So what am I going to talk about here in this very brief introduction? I'm going to talk about the basic topics that we're going to explore on the program, of which you can see that there are 5 there, and really there are 5.5 actually, which will become clearer when I start to talk about the assignments. So I'm going to be very brief about the course topics, and I'll talk about the study schedule, and I'll give you the dates. And then I think more importantly, or most importantly, I'll talk about your assignments, which I'm pretty convinced that you're all raring to go on your assignments. So the topics itself then, let's move on to the topics itself. The program is about innovation and change in a digital world. And what it's not about the technology itself. Okay, so I'm not here to tell you or sell you or even lead you towards one form of digital technology over another form of digital technology, because that's way beyond my experiences, my knowledge, and I have a view that pretty much one nascent piece of technology is as good as another. And really, the actual technology that's used is not really the question at the heart of this program. Yes, we are dealing with technology, but we're dealing with technology in the general. Yeah. Does the technology, does the digital change the world and what we know about the world and the way that we've seen it? In other words, does the technology itself bring something new to the world of work, and to business? So on that basis, we'll explore the digital. We'll talk about innovation, processes of innovation. Although again, I don't want to just reiterate stuff that you'll have done in Unit 2 and talk about competitive advantage and all that sort of stuff. But we'll talk about the theories of innovation. We'll talk about the processes of digital transformation. And to my mind, the really important part of this is that that we're in a world that's changing because of the technology, is whether or not the way we change and how we respond to the change, does that demand that we do it in a way that's different because of the technology itself? So we'll look at models of change, and we'll also talk about how we can lead and manage change. And I'm very deliberate about including the word management that's in there, which will become abundantly clear, I think, in the workshop. And I think that the value of leadership is overstated, and that the value of management is understated. And really, you as agents within your own organization, is you both lead and manage. But for some strange reason, is that leadership appears to have become, well, a grandiose activity, and management has been something that's kind of like seen as being a bit boring, a bit dull, and to be ignored. And I think that's wrong. So I'm restating the case for management. But mostly, I think what I want to do is I want to make you think, because thinking and reflection on our experience and on the theories, which is by its very nature a discomforting process, may lead to you learning something. And if you learn something, your response to what you've learned is to change your behavior, to improve your practice. But it all starts with thinking. Not just, we can give you models, models of change, models of this, that, and all the rest of it. But one of the things that you'll have learned so far from your studies is that nobody, and I've used this expression before with you, I'm sure of it, has a monopoly on truth. No one model accurately and explicitly set out how to go about these sorts of things. And if you read many of the papers on digital transformation, change, leadership, they'll make statements which are quite empty or quite open, say that, well, you need to communicate. Well, okay, that's fine, but what does that mean exactly? And exploring these challenges, these problems, demands that we enter into a deeper, more, I'll just stick with the word deeper, I think, a deeper framing of thinking based upon our own experiences. So I think I could probably introduce this better by just sharing with you some kind of a thought experiment. Okay. Now, this is taken from quite an old book by Ernest Obeng. But broadly speaking, what Obeng asked us to do was to just on a piece of paper write out a graph. Two axes. One was on the vertical axis was our rate of change in business or society, it doesn't really matter. And then also the human's ability to be able to learn. So we're going to plot two curves on this graph. And then along the bottom is we just put a time scale. And I've gone to 2020 all the way back to 1850. Okay, and then so Obeng says, well, on this graph, plot a curve that traces out the rate, that traces out the rate of change that we've experienced since 1850 through to 220. Now, and by and large, we end up with a curve that looks a bit like that. Is that change is accelerating. Now, I'm fairly confident that that would be your view too. In the groups that I work with, and I've been doing this quite a while now, groups, learners, all tell me that the world is changing faster than it's ever changed in the past. And if it is changing faster than we've ever seen it, then the curve is exponential. So we'll take that as a given. It's a thought experiment, right? Okay, so it's not necessarily an accurate representation of reality. It's a thought experiment. But by and large, I'm happy to accept that the curve would look like this. Rate of change, particularly as an advent of digital technologies, ICTs from the 1990s onwards, with widespread utilization of the internet, has resulted in unprecedented levels of change. And with the advent of AI, large learning models, that seems to be accelerating. But then now let's plot on that another curve, which is the human's capacity or ability to be able to learn. Now, we can argue about the semantics of the terminology of this, that, and all the rest of it, and say, well, how do you define this? And it's a thought experiment, right? And bear that in mind. So our ability to be able to learn. Back in the 1850s, you might well say, well, our ability to be able to learn was probably higher than the rate of change. Yeah, we could cope with the world that was on about us, that was around us, because of the fact that the rate of change was not sufficient. So we had time in order to be able to adapt and be able to learn about the situation that we were dealing with. And we could think our way through to solutions that were appearing around us. So we put the start of the curve above, we'll put the second curve above the first curve, above the red line. And then we could think about, well, how does our ability to be able to learn change over time? The question is that, has it gone down, has it gone up, or has it stayed the same? Well, I would argue, along with Obeng, that actually our ability to be able to learn has probably increased as a consequence of digital technologies, widespread utilization of the internet, etc., etc., etc. And so I plot a second curve that looked like that. Now, for the majority of the time of the last industrial revolution, or the peak of the industrial revolution, is that the human has been able to learn faster than the rate of change. But if what we do is keep our curve like that, unless it changes exponentially, which I don't think it has done, our capacity to learn, our ability to learn has not changed in parallel with the rate of change in society and business, then it crosses over that line. I've argued that it crosses over somewhere around about 1990, which is the advent of the utilisation of the internet. Things like what Wi-Fi, personal access to the internet through desktop computers, and then smartphones more latterly. And this is what Obeng describes as being the shift between the old world and the new world. And the old world and the new world would have blurred and so on and so forth. But his argument is that we're living in a new world. And I don't think that we would necessarily dispute that. We're living in a new world because of the advent of technology. There's always been technology. What's different about this current technology that means that we describe it as a new world? But more importantly, look at the curve itself and think about the implications of the curves. Is that the blue line crosses over the red line and sits beneath it. Whereas for most of our industrial experience, the blue line has been above the red line. In other words, we've been able to learn faster than it's changing. We've coped. We can think through and we can formulate solutions to problems. But what happens when the blue line disappears below the red line? Well, effectively what this means is that the world is changing faster than we can learn. Now, if the world is changing faster than we can learn, what does that say about our models and our thinking regarding, say, something like leadership? Where the dominant models of leadership have been in existence since the late 1970s and haven't changed that much. Yes, they get reinvented, they get recrafted, they change the narrative around them, put bits in here and there. They kind of like morph them and change them and all the rest of it in order to meet new audiences. We've moved from the transformational to the authentic, but it's still the same underlying foundation of the model, which is based around a dialectic of leadership styles from transformational, transactional. And now we've added in the authentic by talking about ethics. Well, if the world is changing faster than we can learn, is that model of leadership still relevant? And if it isn't, what else has changed? So that, in a nutshell, is what the course is about. What's changed? What's changing? How's it changing? And how do we, or more importantly, you, where you're standing at a threshold of your career accelerating because of the training that you've done at the university, is that how do you cope? How do you become? How do you adopt your management practice to become an effective agent of change? And that's what I hope to answer. Well, so when I say answer, that's what I hope to address on the program, because I can't answer it. That's for you to do. Study schedules and important dates, and there they are. Tutorial 1, 2, and 3. I don't know why tutorial 3 is in bold. It is. So we've got tutorials Monday, Tuesday, Mondays of Monday the 2nd, Monday the 9th, Monday the 16th. Now, for the enterprising amongst you, you will have flicked through the Blackboard page and you will have looked at the tutorials, and you will have seen that tutorials 2 and 3 are actually going to be recorded and posted online. Posted on the Blackboard page, to be accurate. The reason being is that Monday the 9th is my birthday. Hooray! And I'm on holiday with my lovely wife. And I don't get back until after tutorial 3. So I'm begging your pardon, but I will record the tutorials. I will post them onto Blackboard and they will be available for you at 9 o'clock on the due day. So tutorial 2 will be available to you on Monday the 9th and tutorial 3 will be available to you on Monday the 16th. The workshop itself, I'll be back for that. I can't do that online. Is on Thursday the 26th and Friday the 27th, 9 o'clock start through till 5 o'clock finish, both days. And then there's, because there will be a group work that will start at the workshop, and I allow an opportunity for the groups to come and talk to me about the progress that they're making with their group work, and indeed anything else that you want to talk about, to be perfectly honest. And I've scheduled that for the 9th of October between 9 and 12 o'clock. Now, we can allocate time spots for everybody at the workshop itself, or it could just be drop in when you want. Okay. I've tried to formalize it in the past, and I don't think personally it works very well. So it's very informal, it's very discussive. I would just like you to bring the issues as you see them. And if you don't have any, that's fine too. There's no necessity for you to take time out of your diaries to turn up on that. But I will be there and I'll be available on that date. But we'll organise that at the workshop. And then the deadlines are as set out there. The group working, which will start at the workshop, is to be submitted 2 o'clock, 28th of October, and the A2 will be 1st of November. Okay. You've all become very familiar with submission of work now, so I don't really need to go into anything more about that. But that's the study schedule, and that's the important dates. And I shall see you online. I will deliver face-to-face tutorial 1, which is about technology. Tutorial 2 will be posted online as a recording, which is about innovation. And tutorial 3 will also be posted online as an online recorded tutorial, and that is about digital transformation, which leaves therefore change and our response to change, including creativity, to be dealt with at the workshop. Okay. Now, I did say that there is a half a subject, and there is, and that is as a consequence of one of the assignments. In the group project, and I'm not going to read the brief out here, all right? You can do that yourself. I'll just stop the video and read it through. But the group project has an individual element to it. The individual element requires a understanding of what I would regard as being rather simplistic mathematics. Okay, so there is a maths element onto that. And so for the part of the afternoon of day 2 on the workshop is that I will address the issue of mathematics and simple linear regressions. Now, if you've not done linear regression at all, then to call them simple might be taking the piss, but they're not. It's not difficult. Okay, trust me, it isn't difficult. I know it's not difficult because I'm not a mathematician myself, but I can do it. And if I can do it, you can do it. I can assure you of that. So the group project, it is a group project, but there's an individual element which you therefore combine into a group presentation or submission. So it's one document comprising 2 parts: the individual component, which is the mathematics, and then your commentary on it. Right? And that's the second part. But we'll talk about this at the workshop itself. You don't need to do anything before the workshop itself, okay? You've got plenty of time to be able to do it start it and initiate it at the workshop. But we'll go through the maths in easy stages before I set you free. The individual assignment, which is in 2 parts, is about changing your organization and your response to it. So we're adding in your experiences at that point. And that's it. I look forward to seeing you at the first tutorial. Bye for now.